And welcome to the Lindy's post-game report. I am the coach Dick Cox, joined by Coach Larry Phillips. Larry, I think we just saw the best bowl of the whole bowl season. That today we are covering the Belk Bowl live from Bank of America Stadium, facing the SEC versus the ACC. The Wake Forest Demon Deacons taking on the Texas A&M team today, and the Aggies. And riding up here, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. I know that the Belk Bowl always puts on a great show as far as a first class event. The food's always good, the hospitality's always good, though. But boy, did we see a great college football game today.
We did, Coach. If you couldn't be happy watching that game, you can't be happy watching a football game. It was excitement from the get-go.
And the thing about it is, too, if you are a defensive team, flip the channel. Today was wide open offense. Combined, the two teams today ran 191 plays for over 1,300 yards. This is amazing, the offensive show. That I think 97 to 94 was the plays, 32 to 31 first downs in the ball game, though. And it basically came down, like I said, it would come down to the team with the ball last wins, and that was Wake Forest, who was able to stop Texas A&M with just seconds remaining to take one snap, and the ball game was over.
That's it. And it was back and forth all the way. A&M had that big first quarter lead, and then Wake Forest turned on the Jets and scored 31 straight. And, Coach, it was just back and forth. It was pure excitement.
Well, start the game. I mean, people were probably getting ready and wanting to flip the channel. That Texas A&M got off to a hot start. They drove down and scored first, then came back, blocked a punt for a touchdown. It's 14-0, just like that. And Wake Forest just could not get anything going. And really, I think what it took, Larry, was Wake Forest attempted a field goal, and it was a roughing the kicker penalty that kept that drive alive then. For them, and they went down and were able to score. And like you said, reel off 31 points in a row, and then people are getting ready to turn the TV off saying, well, gosh, Wake Forest is going to blow them out. Well, lo and behold, here comes the Aggies starting the second half, and they come back with an extra points to take the lead, and just a great game.
It was, Coach, and I noticed in that first half, one thing that – now, Wake Forest started moving that football for sure, but one thing that really helped them was the Aggies had some problems with key penalties and 2 turnovers, Coach. And then Wake Forest gets on that big run and takes the big lead, and then, Coach, to start the second half, it seemed to flip. Then Wake Forest had 2 turnovers and had a couple of costly penalties, and next thing you know, we're going in that fourth quarter and the game is tight.
It is, and it basically came down to a touchdown with just a minute or so to go by Wake Forest on a short run on third down to score and retake the lead. I was wrong today. I wasn't wrong on a lot of things, but I said the first team to 50 would win. That was not the case, because Texas A&M was the first team to 50 with 52, and Wake Forest scored last. So, but we have this scenario with NBA basketball that the first team to 100 usually wins the ball game, but first team to 50, maybe I should have said first team to 60.
Well, you were close, Coach. You were really close. And like you said, though, Wake Forest came down and got that last touchdown. And then, A&M had some time. So everybody was sitting on the edge of the seat, and A&M drove the ball up near their midfield mark, but then they weren't able to convert anymore and turn the ball over on downs.
And you got to give A&M credit, because they've been through a tough season, with Kevin Sumlin's speculations on when he was going to get fired. If he was going to get fired, he did get fired. They come into a bowl game with an interim coach. They've hired their new coach. Jimbo Fisher was here today during the game, though. But they've been through a tough situation, though. But a lot of people said this is a game that doesn't matter to these teams. Well, I'll tell you what, it did matter, because you saw 2 teams that came out and played their hearts out today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that game mattered a lot, and you got to give them credit, and I appreciate you doing that. I mean, A&M's been through a tough time period. A lot of speculation, a lot of uncertainty. They never mailed it in, Coach. They kept fighting, and they got back in the ballgame, took the lead again.
So, again, a big ball game today, some interesting stats right now. Texas A&M had 499 yards passing to 400 for Wake Forest. Again, 646 yards total offense for Wake Forest to 614 for Texas A&M. John Walford was the MVP. And, again, this is a guy who's been much maligned for Wake Forest. He's a senior. His first 3 years went through a lot of criticism when they were only winning, 3 ball games, going through some struggles and all. But a young man who emerged as a excellent quarterback. And, I think I kind of pull for him today, too. I'm kind of tickled to see him get the MVP because he's not a really big guy. He's one of those guys that his heart's probably bigger than he is, though, but played a great game in his final senior game.
Yeah, I kind of feel like his teammates feel the same way about him. And, in his press conference, he made the comment, and I really love this. He said, you could have gave that MVP to all the people on our offense. He said our receivers, our running backs, our linemen, they all played great. But, I think those teammates of his wanted him to have it.
He got it, and it's something that I'm sure he'll always remember, though. This was an interesting game. The first quarter lasted 55 minutes. The second quarter lasted 50 minutes. What a long ball game today, and I had it pegged right here. Probably a lot of people didn't want to hear this, but I had it pegged that Texas A&M was going to go down and kick a field goal. It would have been only fitting, as long as this game was today, with all the offense, to have gone 3 to 4 overtimes. And nobody wanted to hear me mention the OT word.
No, I heard some guys joking in the press room, and one of them said what you just said, very similar to it, and another guy said, I was praying it would not go into overtime. But it would have been appropriate for this game because both teams were playing so well on offense, Coach. So well, so smooth, and it was fun to watch.
So a great game today with the Belk Bowl. Will Webb, who's chairman of the bowl, and his committee always do a great job. Frank Kay, who's in charge of communications, takes care of us, and we were fed well and often today. We appreciate Frank for everything he does, though. But a great game, and I will challenge you to go out and tell me a better game if you watch the game, or if there's been a better game, or if there will be a better game played on the field. There may be some more games that people think are more important, but I don't think you're going to find a better game than we saw today. Texas A&M, Wake Forest put on a great show, with Wake Forest being the Belk Bowl champions by the score of 55-52.
I tell you, Coach, another thing, too. Coach Clausen was talking about that Wake Forest team. A lot of them are underclassmen. So, ACC, look out for the Demon Deacons.
And beware, like he said, he's got 9 starters back on offense. And Larry and I both commented of the athletic skill players he had. They've got to replace a quarterback, and they got to replace a tight end today who became the all-time leading receiver, touchdown yardage, and all for the ACC. And he had a big part in this game today, though. But good to see the Deacons back in the ACC. I remember the days of Jim Grobe when he had them playing well. I pulled for Wake Forest there. And, again, Dave Clausen, a class act that we've had the opportunity of having on our broadcast before, though. But just really tickled and exciting for him and for what he's done with this program, how he's rebuilt it back. And also, there's a lot of – today the quarterback for Texas A&M was a freshman with some young receivers. Hey, the Aggies are going to be pretty good with Jimbo Fisher pushing the buttons going down the road, too.
Exactly. It would not surprise me to see the Aggies back up in the hunt and in the push in the SEC. They played, like you said, Coach, with all the struggles and speculation and distractions they've had recently, they played an outstanding football game. So, yes, that Aggie spirit and that Aggie pride, they're going to stick with it. They'll be back.
And one of the highlights at halftime was watching the military band of the Aggies perform at halftime. Larry, you enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yes, that was impressive. I've never seen a performance quite like that before. That was very impressive. A lot of school pride, a lot of school energy and support for the Aggies. You got to give that to them.
My highlight of that is when the guy on the PA system said, will the photographer please get off the field, who was in the way of their marching. I've never heard that before.
Well, it was pretty neat because the Aggie band does something where they go almost the full length of the field, and then when they reach a certain yard line, they turn and they kind of march back through themselves. It's really neat to watch. I've never seen a band do it. Well, apparently this photographer didn't either, because when they got past the mid-yard line, he walked out on the field, and the PA guy had to tell him, get off the field.
or he would have been run over those. So a lot of fun today at the Belk Bowl. Your final score was the Wake Forest Demon Deacons 55, the Texas A&M Aggies 52. Great bowl today. Appreciate the Belk Bowl and their hospitality. Now it's time to sit back and what happens with the New Year's Day bowls now. For Coach Larry Phillips, I'm Coach Dick Cox, wishing you a happy and safe New Year. Goodbye, everybody.